2019. Life was normal around the world as it neared the end of the year. But in Wuhan, Huanan Seafood and Wildlife Market, a virus has prepared itself to take on the world, to infect millions of people around the world, not only to make more copies of itself, but to remind every human being on this planet that disrespecting nature could drive them to extinction. The coronavirus measures only 120 nanometers, 20 lakh times smaller than the glass sculpture of the virus made by the British artist. Yet, it reminded every human on the earth how insignificant Homo sapiens are and how small is the gap between prosperity and extinction. After infecting the first person in Wuhan in early December last year, the virus spread out like a wildfire. A new pandemic has emerged, COVID-19, Coronavirus Disease 2019. Virus is simple genetic material wrapped in a protective coat that needs a host cell to replicate itself, to make more copies of itself. And coronavirus pandemic is not the first pandemic humans have suffered. Billions of people died due to pandemics and epidemics in human history by different viruses such as smallpox, Ebola, influenza, HIV, rabies, hantavirus, and recently coronaviruses. Not only humans, viruses they infect almost every living organism on the planet. In fact, there are more viruses on the earth than there are stars in the universe. If all the 10 to the power of 31 viruses on earth were laid to end, they would stretch for 100 million light years. The rate of viral infection in oceans stands at 10 to the power of 23 infections per second, and these infections remove 20 to 40% of all bacterial cells each day. These bacteria help drive Earth's chemical cycles and climate. Also inside your gut, there live more than 1 kilogram of bacteria which help us digest the food. Bacteria and viruses secretly shape and control our planet since the beginning. For instance, 2 billion years after the Earth was born, the cyanobacteria, through photosynthesis, produced the oxygen into the Earth's atmosphere, caused the Great Oxygenation Event, which enabled the subsequent development of multicellular life forms, including us. Thanks to cyanobacteria, we breathe the oxygen that they gave off. From oceans to soil to your gut mucus, bacteria drive Earth's chemical cycle, climate, and life processes. And viruses drive these bacteria and the evolution of life on Earth. As a matter of fact, 10% of human DNA is virus DNA, may have been inserted by ancient viruses during pandemics and epidemics. To understand why pandemics outbreak, why a virus infects your body, you have to understand what a living organism is and how it works. All living organisms on Earth extract energy from the environment, survive, reproduce, and die. Living organisms are made up of cells. The simplest single-celled organism is bacteria, which is nothing but a DNA and other molecules wrapped in a cell membrane which is also made up of molecules called lipids. Like all organisms, bacteria need energy, and they can acquire it through a number of different ways. One example is photosynthesis, where the bacteria uses the energy from the sunlight to make their own food. In the presence of sunlight, carbon dioxide and water are turned into glucose and oxygen. The glucose is then turned into usable energy. Glucose is like food for the bacteria. How do they do it? DNA in the bacterial cell directs to make proteins, and proteins control all these biochemical reactions in the cell. When a bacteria replicates, there are occasional errors in the DNA sequence called mutations, which make a different protein in the offspring. As a result, the altered protein might be better suited or less well suited for function under prevailing conditions. So as the environments changed all through the history, organisms with better mutations became more successful. Those small mutations in the DNA accumulated over billions of years, giving rise to all the diversity of life we see on the earth today, including us. From molecules to single cells to multicellular organisms, all doing the same thing: extract energy from the environment, grow, perform life functions, make more copies of themselves, all programmed in the DNA, shaped by the changing environments and evolutionary pressures, which included pathogens and viruses too, resulting in 10% of human day becoming virus DNA, inserted by ancient viruses. Evolution made complex multicellular organisms like human beings with dedicated systems of cells, such as digestive system to extract nutrients from the food, circulatory system to deliver oxygen and nutrients to organs and cells and carrying their waste products away, skeletal system with bones to maintain the structure of the body and its organs, and immune system that defends the body against pathogen attacks that may harm the body. We are multicellular organisms with trillions of cells, extracting energy from the environment, grow, reproduce, die. We are nothing but a giant factory of molecular reactions. And viruses too are just molecules with either DNA or RNA enclosed in a protein coat, which infect foreign cells to replicate by using the cellular mechanism of the host cell. They are parasites. They cannot reproduce by themselves. They jump from species to multiply. In December last year, one such virus called SARS-CoV-2, a novel coronavirus from the family of coronaviruses, probably from a pangolin, infected a person in Huanan Seafood and Wildlife Market in Wuhan, causing a respiratory disease called COVID-19. And the virus spread across the world like a wildfire within weeks, triggering a pandemic. But there are other killer viruses too currently in humans. Seasonal influenza viruses H1N1 and H3N2 currently circulating in humans that cause common cold and flu kill nearly 3 to 6 lakhs people worldwide every year. Then why COVID-19 is causing a panic in people and not influenza? Because majority of the people are already immune to influenza viruses. But most of the people who are exposed to coronavirus will be infected because it takes a little time for your immune system to develop antibodies. Here is how your immune system works. Whenever a pathogen enters the human body, our immune system responds by producing antibodies, which are nothing but immunoglobulin proteins, which are specific molecules that go and bind with the antigens, the protein molecules given off by the virus. Once the antibodies bind the antigens of the virus, it inactivates the virus. And then our immune system remembers that particular antigen in memory cells and circulates in the blood, so that in case of any future invasion of the same pathogen, the same antibodies are produced with the speed and strength so that we don't get the disease. We become immune. You will most likely be affected by the virus if you are exposed to it. However, keep your immune system in optimal condition with the right diet and exercise. Another way to fight this disease is through vaccine. Vaccine is nothing but a molecule. Vaccines are similar to antigens that are found on pathogens, but they don't harm us. They look like certain bacteria or virus to the immune system and stimulate the immune system to produce antibodies. And memory cells in the immune system remember the antigen, and if the same virus invades again in the future, you will be immune because your immune system produces antibodies faster and stronger. Even though deactivating the virus with a vaccine is relatively easy, though scientists have sequenced the RNA of the virus, though they understand the complete molecular structure of the virus, it takes nearly 2 years for the vaccine to be available because the process involves several phases for animal trials, human trials for safety, efficacy, and approval. First, we must understand the characteristics of the virus and its behavior in the host cells, that is, humans in this case. Understanding the virus behavior in animal cells in laboratory setting and understanding its behavior in the human body are completely different. To do this, we must develop an animal model. However, for COVID-19, the FDA has skipped the animal trials and approved the direct human trials to expedite the process. First, a small group of healthy people need to be evaluated with vaccine for safety and immune response at different doses. Then a second group of hundreds of people need to be evaluated for safety and to assess the efficacy and to inform the optimal dose and vaccine schedule. Then thousands of people of different demographics need evaluation for safety and efficacy. Then licensing and approval from the government. And then post-approval evaluation to see how effective the vaccine is. Because each one's immune response is different. In some people, the vaccine may trigger a deadly reaction leading to death. Also, the virus really mutates faster. It changes its structure really fast, making it difficult for the vaccine to work. For seasonal influenza, for example, the vaccine changes every year because the virus is always evolving through mutations. In COVID-19 patients caused by SARS-CoV-2, the fatality rate is high among elderly people, immune-compromised people, and people with pre-existing conditions such as diabetes, heart diseases, kidney diseases. Because as we age, our immune system becomes weak and won't be able to fight off the infections. Also, our immune system overreacts to the infection, causes inflammation, a cytokine storm which floods the lungs with fluid, causing pneumonia, which may lead to death. We don't know how long this pandemic lasts. Will it become seasonal like influenza virus? Or will it come in waves like 1918 Spanish flu? We don't know yet. COVID-19 pandemic is not the first and won't be the last for humans. The rate of spread of a disease is measured by a number called R0, a reproductive number. R0 tells you the average number of people who will catch a disease from one contagious person. It tells you how contagious the disease is. The R0 of coronavirus is around 2 to 3. Zika virus around 3.6. Measles around 11 to 18. Ebola 2. HIV 3.7. Chikungunya 4. And seasonal flu around 1.3. There have been deadliest pandemics in the human history, which threatened our existence. Whenever there is a new outbreak happens, it exposes the vulnerability of our civilization, of our species. Imagine a virus with a deadly mutation and whose R0 is around 50. The virus will spread so fast that the humanity will be wiped out within weeks into extinction. There is not much gap between the prosperity and extinction of our species on this little blue planet. Remember this, virus needs a host. Don't become a host. Stay home, stay safe. Keep watching as we bring you the secrets of humans, bacteria and viruses and our relationship with them, and also to reveal the scientific aspects of corona that caused COVID-19. Stay tuned.